Shalom. Welcome to ASAHXMUSIX Torah Studio, where we worship with sax and walk in Torah. Today we are in Leviticus chapter 1, Vayikra chapter 1, and we'll be focusing on burnt offering, the offering of approach, and the surrender. If you love the presence of the Creator, the sound of sax, and a serious journey through the Torah from Bereshit Genesis to Devarim Deuteronomy, make sure you subscribe and share this study. Let's begin with a short sax instrumental as we quiet our hearts before the Creator. So we'll be playing more saxophone in worship, and we're reading more of Torah each evening as we meet. So let's dive into the reading. But before we go into the reading for Leviticus, I want us to take a quick recap of Exodus, Shemot. At the end of Exodus, the tabernacle or the Mishkan is raised, and the glory of the Creator filled it so strongly that even Moshe could not enter. Leviticus opens with the Creator calling to Moshe from the tent of meeting and teaching Israel how to draw near through offerings. So open up Leviticus chapter 1 with me and let us read verses 1 through to 3. And the Creator called to Moshe and spoke to him from the tent of appointment, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when one of you brings an offering to the Creator, you bring your offering of the livestock, of the herd, or of the flock. If his offering is an offering ascending of the herd, let him bring a male, a perfect one. Let him bring it at the door of the tent of appointment for his acceptance before the Creator." So we're seeing the Creator called to Moshe affectionately, in a way that more is expected. His voice came through the ark between cherubim and reached to Moshe's ears. And this was not to the ears of the whole camp. We know that the Creator's voice is probably powerful and loud. But this call only Moshe heard. When we read Shemot chapter 25, and what we see later in Bamidbar and Devarim, the other books of the Torah, the Creator keeps meeting Moshe personally over the decade, speaking with him about Israel. And at these times, Israel did not hear. There are some references that we could look to for this. which I'll probably bring up shortly. But what it is saying in these verses is that when any one of you bring an offering, a lot of persons who criticize the offerings would say that it is mandatory to bring an offering. But in this context, in verse 2, it actually says when. In some versions, it says if. For example, we see when a man, or if a man wishes to bring the offering. So this is something that is voluntary, and this can be for a special type of animal. So it's not, you can of course bring the cow, not a holy cow. You can bring an animal, but not an animal that has gored someone. You can bring an animal, but not an animal that has had intimate relations with animals. And we'll see those commands later. But we'll see the word offering being repeated in this chapter and even in the book of Leviticus. And these offerings are brought, we may wonder for what purpose these offerings are brought. It is they're brought to keep the altar active, especially when no other offering was being brought. It is a male that should bring. It doesn't say female, and it must be perfect. And you must bring what you promise. Right. I know there are quite a few persons who make promises to the Creator and say, if you take me through this, then I will do this. And afterwards, sometimes we forget. So when a man wishes to bring, as this says, you're to bring from the herd, not an old animal, not a sick animal, not a filthy animal, not a dangerous or misused one. And what the worshiper does is lay down his hands on the animal. So we see we should listen out for our calling from the Creator. Just as Moshe was called by the Creator, there's a time that's coming when the Creator will actually, speak to us. So we are the ones actually blocking it out, because He's actually speaking to us through His words daily, right? But are we making space in our lives to for the Creator to speak to us? Do we have that quiet, attentive time, expecting the Creator to speak to us through his text? And that's why I'd say the Torah study is very important, whether we do it in a group setting or we do it individually by ourselves. We're going to be reading some more verses. We're going to read from verses 3 to 9. The sound of the music in the background is very lovely, and if it was up to me, I'd play music all evening. at verse 3, it says, if his offering is an ascending offering of the herd, let him bring a male, a perfect one. Let him bring it at the door of the tent of appointment for its acceptance before the Creator. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the ascending offering, and it shall be accepted on his behalf to make atonement for him. And he shall slay the bull before the Creator, and the sons of Aharon, the priests, shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood all around on the slaughter place, which is at the door of the tent of appointment. And he shall skin the ascending offering and cut it into its pieces, and the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire on the slaughter place and lay the wood in order on the fire. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall bring the pieces with the head and the fat on the wood, which is on the fire, on the slaughter place. But its entrails and its legs he washes with water. And the priest shall burn all of it on the slaughter place as an ascending offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to the Creator. So each time we go into these verses, we're going to ask, for what purpose? Right? We have a description. We have a description of what happens. A man wishes to bring, the animal must be a male without blemish from the herd. And just as the worshipper worshiping, he lays his hand on its head, and the offering is accepted for him as an atonement. And this is for neglected commands. So, for example, if you, unalive a man, there's no offering that you can give to escape the punishment. Right? So these offerings were not for every sin. Matter of fact, these offerings were voluntary. Right? He must slaughter the animal himself. Another thing we're told is that we need a priest. We don't need a priest to slaughter the animal for us. It's only from the blood stage onward does the priest step in to do the sprinkling, and then the whole offering will go up as a pleasing aroma to the Creator. And how do we describe this pleasing aroma? Someone will say, what is the benefit of a slaughter of smelly animals to the Creator? Right? But what we should point out is that the Creator does not need the smell of the animals. What he wants is to see his children following his commands. When I see my children, when I grow up my children in a certain way, and I see them making choices without my assistance or guidance, and they make wonderful choices, it comes to me as a pleasant aroma. So that is how it is to the Creator, even more so. So let us not neglect commandments that we are told to honor, but if we make a promise to do certain things, kindness in kindness and love, let us follow through with it and do it the right way that the Creator expects us to do. All right, don't take our promise lightly. Right, what we said we'd bring to the Creator, let us go before Him and bring to Him. No. Right, it's a challenge for us to really stop living in what I call a low-grade disobedience, the things we already know and have promised. We promise to keep the Shabbat, but of course we don't keep it. We promise to abstain from certain foods, and we don't do that. We promise to deal with our brother in a certain way, we do not do that. That is what I call low-grade disobedience. Well, the Creator said that He must bring, in other words, we must follow the commandments that we have agreed to follow. Let us treat our word before the Creator as something weighty. Returning to the commands, we have delayed and honored them in action. All right, we're going to do some more reading. We're going to go to verse 10. This is the final reading. We read from verse 10 to 17. And his offering is from the flock, from the sheep, or from the goats, as an ascending offering. Let him bring a male, a perfect one. And he shall slay it on the north side of the slaughter place before the Creator. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall sprinkle his blood on the slaughter place all around. And he shall cut it into its pieces with its head and its fat, and the priest shall arrange them on the wood, which is on the fire on the slaughter place, But the entrails and the legs he washes with water. It washes with water. And the priest shall bring it all and burn it on the slaughter place. It is an ascending offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to the Creator. And if the ascending offering of his offering to the Creator is of birds, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or young pigeons. And the priest shall bring it to the slaughter place and shall wring off its head and burn it on the slaughter place, and its blood shall be drained out at the side of the slaughter place. He shall remove its crop with its feathers and throw it besides the slaughter place on the east side into the place for ashes. And verse appointed, verse 17, and he shall split it at its wings, but not sever it. And the priest shall burn it on the slaughter place on the wood that is on the fire. It is an ascending offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to the Creator. So we see details coming out for the burnt offerings from the flock and from the birds. The flock, not just any flock, it's sheep and goats. And sometimes I wonder why sheep and goats, and why the herd, whenever, but they have different personalities. But whatever is important now is that they must be without blemish, not old, not sick, not filthy, not slaughtered. And they must be slaughtered on the north side of the altar. But then there are other persons too who can't afford those things, right? And the Creator makes a provision for them, right? They can bring turtle doves. They can bring young pigeons. The priest brings even a single bird. So even if you have only one bird, you just press, the priest brings that, takes that one bird, presses out its blood, and removes the crop, which is the inner parts of the digested food. And then the feathers to the ash place on the east side, so it's on another side. Then he splits the bird without tearing it apart. So whether it's a bull we have to surrender, there are some bull personalities that we need to surrender. There are some persons who are just like a goat or a sheep personality that we need to surrender to the Creator for Him to have His will and His way in us. When we offer what we have, let it be the best and let it come from our heart. Let it be an offering turned toward the Creator. There are some questions I'd want us to consider. Right? How does knowing the Creator accept bull and bird offerings shape the way we see our own limited time, money, or strength? I think this frees us from comparison, because we do not wait for a bull-sized season. We don't have to wait till we have a lot to give. If we're in a bird season, we can bring the bird-sized devotion to our Creator. Bring what we have now. Clean, let it be intentional and sincere, and let us offer our whole heart to the Creator, trusting that it will still rise to Him as a nichoach, or a pleasing aroma before Him. Right, so that is the challenge for us today. Right, and just to recap, this chapter here, it shows us that Creator, He called Moshe intimately from the tent of meeting. He opened a way to approach through the old burnt offering. So He makes a way for us to approach Him, and He makes that way accessible to every Israelite, from those who can bring a bull to those who can only bring a bird. What matters is not the size of the animal, but the whole heart placed on the altar. Tomorrow we look at Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 2. We see how the another offering, the grain offering, brings His presence into the everyday work of our hands. So every offering is not about blood and animal. There's also a grain offering, which we'll learn about. So, but before we close, I want to share a little quiz with us. One question says, which statement best captures, it's on the screen, the kind of atonement provided by the burnt offering in Leviticus chapter 1? Is it A, that it atones for deliberate capital crimes? B, it atones for sin, including those requiring lashes? C, it atones for neglected commands that can be repaired by renewed obedience? Or D, it does not provide any form of atonement? It is symbolic only. So here we have, and we can look at it and choose the answer. Second question is, At what precise stage in the burnt offering does the role of the priest become essential? Is it at the point where they're selecting an animal A, or when they're laying on hands on the head of the animal B, or is it C, slaughtering the animal in the courtyard, or D, handling and applying the blood on the altar? So that's a tricky one. Let's hope we can find the answer for that. And the final question is, why does the Torah specify options of herd, flock, and birds for the burnt offering, along with details such as the north side and removal of the bird's crop and feathers? Is it A, to mark different agricultural season? Is it B, to assign particular offerings? Is it C, to distinguish between intentional and unintentional sins? Or is it D, to make the way of whole burnt offerings, burnt surrender accessible to all, and to ensure the offering is fitting and honorable? All right, so it's interesting to see what answers we have here. For number one, though, which statement best describes the capture of the atonement provided by the burnt offering? The answer for that would have been C. It atones for the neglected commands that can be repaired by renewed obedience. And for the second question, at what precise stage in the burnt offering does the role of the priest become essential? It is D, handling and applying the blood on the altar. The final question, why does the Torah specify options of herd, flock, and birds? Right, it's D, to make the burnt offering surrender accessible to all, and to ensure the offering is fitting and honorable. So there we have it for the first chapter of Leviticus. And thank you for joining in this Leviticus 1 study. If this blessed you, please like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves the Torah and the presence of the Creator. And I'll leave with some more sax music. Shalom.